But you don't look over at all, I said, rubbing the aching spot where the back of my neck met my skull. Kilday leaned closer and put his arm on the door. What can I say? I'm a powerhouse, baby. Embarrassed, I laughed and looked to the side. A wall hung nearby. Dustin stared back at me from it, as if he was just a few feet behind me. I saw the gunshot wound from his forehead slowly open up. The blood began to run down his face. Kilday must have noticed the shift in my expression. You see him, don't you? I couldn't lie. Yeah. You know what you need? The spa. Go with me. I got a message from Savara. Booked for 2 at 2 p.m. We'll sweat out of alcohol. My partner still wasn't here, so I knew I could get away with it. The hotel still was almost empty, and all I had to get done that day was make sure the schedule and reply to emails. But then I remembered things. The spa is closed. I'm so sorry, Mr. Kilday. I didn't even think of mentioning it. Amja, my director, shut it down for refledged the staff since business as it's been slow. I thought we messaged all the people with appointments. He wasn't concerned at all. I got money. Call the spa therapist in. I'll make sure it's worth her while. Cash, all under the table. No need to payroll it. Your boss lady will never know. I'll see what I can do, I told him. I went into a stairwell where no one would hear me make the phone call. I couldn't have other staff know. I got a hold of Lena, one of our spa attendants, who was also trained as a message therapist. She must have needed the money because she responded enthusiastically and said she'd be ready for us at 2 p.m. sharp. She didn't even question why I was one of the 2 people going, which was odd, but I doubt I'd care if I was her. The girl was to get paid, right? There were still a few things I had to get done before then. First, I needed to visit Maurice in the security office about the black case. There weren't any cameras in the guest hallways. There are, however, cameras in each of the guest elevators, Maury explained. Yeah, I know, Maury. Just tell me what you found. In the elevators. I'm afraid nothing. I rolled my eyes and was about to get up to leave. But, he held up his index finger and continued. It led me to assume the individual who moved the case instead chose to use a service elevator. We don't have cameras in there, but there are cameras in the outdoor walkways leading from them to the wing of the hotel, and that's where I found it. He pulled up a video of a man in dark blue maintenance uniform wheeling the black case through a breezeway that went from the main building to the next. The building held another 180 guest rooms, all empty, that would be undergoing renovation. In just a few days, the worker that pushed it was wearing a basketball cap and didn't show his face to the cameras. It could have been any of our maintenance guys. And where did it come from? I asked. Fortunately, he used the guest elevator this time. Maury switched the monitor to a different camera. He brought the case up to the 4th floor, and that's where we lose him. The camera showed the worker pushing the case out of the elevator and out of sight. Can you go up to 4 and check rooms for me until you find it? I asked. I would like to, Maury said, leaning back in his chair, but we're currently scheduled only one security officer per shift. Per the handbook, I must have remained here unless there is a domestic dispute or medical emergency. It was pretty much what I expected. It was pretty much what I expected him to say. Thank you for being so diligent, I said with a level of sarcasm I knew Maurice didn't detect. I wanted to find the case. I was becoming obsessed with it. My instincts told me it had something to do with Kilday, even though he claimed it wasn't him. I'd have to go up there and find it myself, but that would have to wait. Our spa appointment was approaching, and besides, I knew the real reason I wanted to see what was in the case was to prove my suspicion wrong and show myself it didn't have anything to do with him. I put it off, looking for it until later, and instead went to the hotel's clothing store to buy a swimsuit for the spa, and I prefer to buy off property, but the shops and stands along with the beach that stole things like that were closed in the colder months, and I didn't have time to go into town. I settled on a simple black and white bikini. The girl working in the shop was confused why a manager was buying a bikini there on my personal credit card in the winter. I was not about to explain, hey, judgment free zone, I told her, and it was all she could get. Next, I went to my office to make the next week schedule, send out to the staff, and reply to the few dozen emails. Even with all the weirdness of the couple few days, I still had basic manager shit to take care of. Once that was finished, I swung by the front desk to check on Robert. He was streaming NBA on TNT on his iPhone. "Where have you been?" he asked, barely looking up from his screen. "Just dealing with stuff. I have something else to take care of. Amja wants me to inventory everything that needs the new logo after the renovation. Think you could handle the desk by yourself for another hour?" "Sure. Place is pretty dead. I'll be off after that anyways," he replied. It was just what I wanted to hear. I headed to the spa. Kilday was already wearing a robe and waiting inside the spa reception area. Lena had gotten there early and opened it up for him. "See, money talks, girl," he said. As I walked in, he rubbed his hands together excitedly as Lena ushered me into the women's locker room to change. "Thank you again for doing this. Did he already pay you?" I asked. Oh yes," she said in a tone that sounded much more generous than her usual calm, smoothing voice. "How much?" I asked. She tried to contain her smile. "You don't want to know." Was she actually blushing? I couldn't tell. I had never seen Lena so excited. She was among the most communal professionals here and rarely displayed such emotion. Had he really paid her so much she was afraid I'd be envious, maybe? I changed into the black and white bikini I just bought. There was nothing fancy or overly sexy. It was actually the cheapest one the shop had, and it would just do fine for this. I put the robe over it, and Lena walked me over to the massage room. The smell of eucalyptus substance, sound of running water, and peaceful tones in Japanese meditation music welcomed me in. Kilday was already laying face down on the massage table with his robe pulled down to his waist. I climbed into the second one, a few feet behind, and did the same. He eyed the bikini. "Black and white, huh? You buy that just for me?" he asked in a usual smirk. "I had it in my car." I lied. Forget his partner. There was no way he wasn't flirting with me now. "I'll be alternating between you," said Lena, as she removed the folded hot towel from Kilday's shoulder and placed it on mine. "While you're waiting, don't be afraid to let your mind wander. Follow it where it goes." I had never gotten a massage from Lena before, but it struck me as a kinda odd comment to make. Still, I was tired. The last thing I wanted to do was think hard about something else. I don't know exactly when I fell asleep. Lena had started on Kilday first, and I remember deciding to rest my eyes. When I opened them, the room was hot and bathed in red, just like we were baking under the heat lamp. The Japanese meditation music seemed louder and slowed down, like each note was stretched out into a deep, brassy groan. Lena's hands were on my back, pushing hard, really working the stress out of my muscles. I couldn't keep my eyes open for more than a few seconds at a time. It was like my body was cracking from lack of sleep and too much caffeine, but on the fourth or fifth time I came to, everything about the massage had changed. Her touch was harder, almost too hard. And the hands themselves felt different. They were much larger. I could sense broad, calvous palms and fingers that felt extra joint. They were like the hands of an extremely large man, only they did things no mere man ever could. It felt like they were scraping me and reaching through my skin inside, generously studying my body and deciphering whatever they could about me from it. I could feel my consciousness transferring, my memories, my emotions, pain altered with relief and euphoria. I couldn't stay alert. I managed to turn my head around towards Kilday. He was laying back on his head, turned away, and a hot towel was on his shoulder. The times my eyes were closed seemed to grow longer. There was a black void ahead of me, accomplished by the sound of waves crashing. As I got closer to the void, the ball of fire appeared, closing in on me from a distance. It got really close. The heat in the room became unbearable.